Main Event Madness proudly presents, coming to you from the land down under, Sydney, Australia, and Naugatuck, Connecticut in the US of A. This is Wrestling's Rope Break. Here are your hosts, Joel the Man O'Brien and Eron the Mastermind Ramadanov.
Well, hello wrestling fans and welcome to Wrestling's Rope Break. Everything pro wrestling by the count of five. It is January 30th, 2015 here on Main Event Madness Radio. I am Joel the Man O'Brien, coming to you like I always do from the land down under, Sydney, Australia. And for the first time in Wrestling's Rope Break history, my partner in crime, ProWrestlingPowerhouse.com's editor-in-chief, Eron the Mastermind Ramadanov, is unable to join us tonight. Unfortunately, he's been under the weather for almost the last week. He's been battling with a severe flu. His voice is all out of whack. So, unfortunately, he's not going to be able to join us this week. But he does tell everyone to follow his latest article. That's up on ProWrestlingPowerhouse.com. A very cheap plug, Eron, but still, it's a very good article about why Roman Reigns should not be blamed for what happened at the Royal Rumble. And obviously, we will be getting into that situation upcoming. But yeah, and if you want any more thoughts on what he thought of the Rumble, or if you need it immediately, we'll probably touch on it a little bit in the next show. But follow him on Twitter at AaronPWP, and you could go to at Wrestling R Break. You can see his live tweeting for the show right there if you just scroll down and check out the latest tweets. So, Eron, get well soon, buddy. We're thinking of you, and we can't wait to have you back on the show next week. But in spite of this setback, I'm going to be doing it solo. I'm going to be with you for the next hour, maybe an hour and a half. We'll try and keep everything concise this week, talking all the major news, shows, angles, and matches from the past and present, exclusively on Main Event Madness Radio. So, what have we got in store for you tonight? Well, the 2015 Royal Rumble is officially in the books. Was it good? What was bad? What was amazing? What was worth apparently cancelling your WWE Network subscription for? Well, answers to all those questions are upcoming. And speaking of the WWE Network, Vince McMahon's latest venture achieved a milestone this week in spite of the number one Twitter trend in the world being on Sunday night, hashtag cancel WWE Network. What does this milestone mean for the future of the network? Wrestling's Rope Break has some definite ideas on these topics upcoming. Lisa Marie Veron, aka WWE's Victoria, TNA's Tara, gives us a much needed talk on the state of women wrestling in 2015 with Jim Ross on the Quintessential podcast segment, so that's coming up as well. And as usual, we have our lessons learned from the last 7 days of pro wrestling television, why it worked, fan questions, plus so much more. But remember, we want you to stay in touch with the show, so the best way to do it is by following us on Twitter at Wrestling R Break, and also following Main Event Madness on Spreaker, and that way you can stay in touch with the past, present, and future episodes of Wrestling's Rope Break. You can also like us on Facebook at facebook.com/Wrestling's Rope Break to not only stay in tune with the show, but also see what me and Eron are up to in the world of pro wrestling via our articles on ProWrestlingPowerhouse.com, plus our other ventures. Speaking of which, I had a very interesting Australia Day watching the Royal Rumble at like 2 a.m. with a drunken friend of mine. So there's some pretty entertaining review videos up there on Wrestling's Rope Break on our Facebook page. So facebook.com/Wrestling's Rope Break. Definitely worth the price of admission. Well, the price of admission, it's actually free, so might as well check it out. And while you're on the net, you might as well bookmark maineventmadness.com and wrestlingsropebreak.weebly.com. That's our websites, so you can listen and get the whole holistic Wrestling's Rope Break experience. You got the website, you got Twitter, you got Facebook. So many ways to stay in touch with the show. But enough cheap plugging from me. Let's get into the top news of the week. Actually, before we move on, there's going to be some changes happening in the show within the next 2 weeks. We're going to try a few new things, maybe shorten down the length of the show. But for this week, obviously it's just myself. So we're going to be concentrating on the Royal Rumble. We're going to be concentrating on Raw for the television shows and the rest of the segments. From here on out, though, for next week, we're going to get rid of SmackDown. Now, I've been juggling up about this for a little while, but when you're trying to watch every single show under the banner for 7 days, it's a bit tough when you get to SmackDown and you realize that there's nothing really of relevance happening on SmackDown. Obviously, the week that I decide not to do SmackDown, what's going to happen? We've got a massive live SmackDown, which is pretty much going to be the first live show after the Royal Rumble. That's going to be an arena show because of the snowstorm that affected Monday Night Raw's enemy from Hartford, Connecticut. Again, we'll get into Raw in a second, but from here on out, I think when we go back to the normal schedule where SmackDown's going to be taped, we're going to get rid of SmackDown. Obviously, please send me a tweet, send me an email at O'Brien_Joel@hotmail.com. If you're not really happy with that, O'Brien_Joel@hotmail.com. I want to know what you guys think. We're also going to just get rid of the must-see matches of the week. I think we're going to be able to tell you the matches that we like. So, just, a few little shortening things. Is there something like you would like to see? Maybe we might actually start adding maybe, I don't know, Lucha Underground, and maybe start watching some Ring of Honor, start reviewing the show there, start telling everyone what the lessons learnt from those shows were. Maybe start watching New Japan Pro Wrestling on AXX. I'm not sure. What do you guys think? So Facebook.com/Wrestling'sRopeBreak, @WrestlingRBreak. Send me your tweets. I post it on our wall. What do you think about these changes? So, just going to try and condense the show down a bit for you guys, the fans. So, enough admin, enough plugging. Let's get straight into the show. Joel's midweek wrap-up, powered by CoolNewsWrestling.com. Not Eron, because unfortunately Eron is not here. But let's just get straight into the news. The WWE Network subscribers numbers finally hit 1 million subscribers, I think, a few days ago, actually. So, it has been dubbed the fastest growing digital network subscription service in the world due to it reaching a million subscribers not even within a year, I think. So that's very, very impressive for WWE. Obviously, the addition of the UK and Ireland networks has obviously increased the number, so that's great. Added at least 200,000 300,000 subscribers. That number will obviously grow going into WrestleMania. Is it a bit of political, it's a hot-shotting, like this kind of information going ahead with the whole hashtag cancel WWE Network becoming such a massive trend on Twitter? I mean, I guess it's an example of how that's kind of failed. I mean, the people who stated that and who believed that are the diehard fans that aren't actually going to go anywhere. They're trying to encourage people to move away from the network, but it's not going to really happen. And this is evidence enough. I mean, obviously, I think everyone's kind of wrapped up with the fact that they had projected much higher totals when the network first started. I mean, I heard numbers get thrown around it was going to be 1.3, 1.4 within 6 months. And obviously that hasn't happened. And I think a lot of fans kind of remember those stats and think, well, 1 million subscribers now is very ugh. But, congratulations to WWE. If you don't have the network, you really should if you're a diehard fan. It's a great archive of amazing shows. I have been really enjoying the WCW pay-per-views from the late 80s to early 90s. There's some great pay-per-views. Starrcade 93, Vader and Ric Flair for the retirement match for the WCW World Championship. And a great pay-per-view. It's got William Regal and Ricky the Dragon Steamboat for the television title in the semi-main. It's just so good. It's worth checking out, guys. And obviously for the pay-per-views, $9.99 a month. It's great value. But enough about the network. So congratulations to WWE for that. In other news, Justin Gabriel has left the WWE. Now, this broke pretty much on the eve of the Royal Rumble. Did Justin Gabriel just miss out on a really decent paycheck before he left? Did he really have to leave around the Rumble? Was it a way of getting eyes on him? He's an incredible talent, in-ring talent. Obviously, the charisma side of his work isn't that good, but really, in WWE's world, he wasn't going to get anywhere. There's enough talented wrestlers that don't have good charisma that kind of overshadow Justin Gabriel. Obviously Tyson Kidd, Cesaro. You got the talent pool in WWE is so strong when it comes to in-ring work that Justin Gabriel, he just kind of isn't at that level where he can kind of get over just with his skills. And I think it's a good decision for him to move out of WWE. Hey, try your luck. Try your luck in the indies. Look what AJ Styles is doing. Look what Matt Sydal is doing. All these, all these former TNA and WWE wrestlers making, like Alberto Del Rio. He is one of the hottest properties in the independent wrestling scene right now. He's everywhere. Lucha Underground, ROH, Triple A. I think he's the Triple A World Heavyweight Champion. So I think Justin Gabriel, good decision. Probably would have hung around for the Rumble, got that good paycheck before he went away, but hey, I'm not Justin Gabriel, so good luck in his future endeavors here from everyone at Wrestling's Rope Break. And in TNA news, now this one kind of shocked me a bit. TNA just hit 500,000 viewers for not this week's show, but for last week's show. 500,000, and apparently that is a Destination America station record for viewers. So it looks like the diehard TNA fans finally found the fledgling promotion. They found where it is, and I think the viewership's gone up incredibly. Obviously we're not going to be reviewing TNA today because it's just Raw and Rumble for the television shows. But I will say about TNA, it's like it's nothing different. It's nothing, like we discussed this last week with me and Eron. It's nothing different. Like they're trying these new distracting things, like I don't know, like having cameras on the announce team while a match is happening, and like all these stupid backstage things, or like just random like Josh Matthews talking about a match and just rambling on and on and on. And maybe they're trying to do for like a very much more of a TV production style presentation, but it doesn't add to the presentation, if you know what I mean. Like, if I'm watching a match, why do I need to be watching Taz and Michael Cole on a side screen that cuts the whole television in half? I'm trying to watch this great tag team match between Bobby Roode and Kurt Angle versus, I think it was it Loki and Eric Young, and it's just so distracting. It doesn't add to the product, but obviously, the viewership's gone up. TNA always had 1 million viewers every single week on Spike, no matter what the product was like. So, they're still halfway. They're halfway away from getting 500. For them million viewers. But we'll see what happens with that. But I guess congratulations are in order. But for a longevity situation for TNA, they're going to have to improve their product. I'd change it and make it different. That's what Lucha Underground's doing right now. New Japan now has an affiliation on North American television network. They're getting their product out there. It's tough competition right now, and really, I don't know if TNA is the number 2 promotion in the world. They may have some talent that used to be in the number 1 promotion, but I don't really know if it's going to last that long. And I think it's definitely in the stages of getting overthrown. So definitely keep your eyes on TNA going forward. All right, so the moment you've all been waiting for. Let's just get into the Royal Rumble rundown. We're going to break it down match by match. We're going to go through the show. Obviously, opening thoughts of this pay-per-view. I think the theme, sticking to your plan, really kind of resonated with this show. I mean, there was so much intrigue and possibilities, and everyone's fantasy booking hats were on, and they were in overdrive, all leading up to the show. But at the end of the day, WWE kept to their plan. They didn't throw any surprise punches. I mean, like The Rock's involvement, that was a surprise. But really, like when it came down to the end game, Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar was the rumored match going into the show. And it still is going to happen at WrestleMania 31, Santa Clara, California. It's going to be an interesting road to WrestleMania. Let's just say that. I mean, and it's kind of disappointing when coming back to the Royal Rumble that we didn't see anything different. No Randy Orton, no cash-in, no surprises in the Royal Rumble. We're going to get to that Royal Rumble match very, very soon. But yeah, and no Sting either. I was very surprised about no Sting. I don't know what you guys think, but do tell me, send me your tweets at WrestlingRBreak, Facebook.com/WrestlingsRopeBreak. No Sting. It's the second biggest show of the year, and this guy has a marquee match with Triple H, and obviously all eyes are on the Rumble, and all eyes are going to be on the Raw after the Royal Rumble, and no real presence of Sting. I'm very surprised. They saved that for the Go Home show, but they didn't use it on the Royal Rumble. I think he should have instigated himself in some way, shape, or form. Maybe in the Rumble, maybe obviously Kane, a big show with the last 3 including Roman Reigns in the Rumble. It would have been fantastic having Sting getting involved in the Authority's business, creating that hype again, adding another layer to their storyline between he and Triple H. But, it is what it is. But we'll start with the number one match on the pay-per-view. The pre-show match was obviously the New Day versus Tyson Kidd and Cesaro and Adam Rose. I didn't see that match, unfortunately, but I heard it was a good match, a good solid match, and Tyson Kidd, Cesaro, and Adam Rose won. It's kind of funny that, and apparently the commentators were pushing them now that they're in a position to get their tag title shot. This company just boggles my mind. Like, they've been beaten like a drum every single week. And now, at the pay-per-view, they get a surprise win, and now everyone's meant to believe them as credible tag team championship contenders. Why don't just have these guys win all the way through, and they have them win at the pay-per-view? I just don't understand. But it is what it is. Speaking of tag teams, first match off the rank for the pay-per-view. Ascension versus the New Age Outlaws. This was as basic a tag team match as you can get. Obviously, the crowd was right behind New Age Outlaws, being a very nostalgic crowd, Philadelphia. But at the end of the day, the Ascension won, as I predicted. But is it too little too late for the Ascension? Like, how could anyone get into this match after seeing what happened the week prior on Raw, with the Ascension just getting absolutely geeked out by all these legendary tag teams? And now we're meant to think that, again, like Tyson Kidd and Cesaro, they're credible, they're ready to be seen as a legitimate tag team. Every year, it seems like WWE moves further and further away from traditional pro wrestling logic and psychology. Like, how could anyone get excited about the Ascension? I have no idea, but basic tag team match. Billy Gunn looked great. He looks great for his age. Road Dogg, not so much, but the Ascension, it's going to be a rocky road to trying to get them back up to relevance that they had back in NXT, but time will tell on that one. The Bella Twins versus Natalya and Paige. This match went forever, and it's going to be one of those matches that I'm sure WWE head office kind of looks back and goes, well, see, we gave the women 14 minutes or 13 minutes, and look what they produced. I mean, it was okay, but again, you got Brie Bella, God bless her, Nikki Bella, against two veterans, and they probably thought that WWE, that is, probably thought that Natalya and Paige could carry the Bellas to a good match, but in the end, it went way too long, and then I had a finish that just came out of nowhere. I guess it was a new finish. It's better than a distraction finish, I guess. But yeah, not much to say here. Bella's going over in a win, but in a win that really did it really matter? It's just, yeah. So the undercard so far was just very underwhelming, and then we saw a match that we've seen a billion times before: the Usos versus Miz and Mizdow. And again, theme being stick to your plan. It was just a straight up tag team match. There was no breakup of Miz and Mizdow. Obviously, when we got to the Royal Rumble, they teased it a bit, but in this match, it was just your straight, formulaic Usos versus Miz's match. Now, the match was fine. It was a good match, actually. I enjoyed the finish. It went a little bit too long, lost the crowd at the end, but we've seen this match. I worked it out. So listen to this stat. At the Royal Rumble, the Miz's versus the Usos was the 15th tag team style match between these two teams that we've seen since December. 15 on television and on pay-per-view. That is a ridiculous stat. Like, if the Royal Rumble shows you anything, and we're going to get into it very, very soon, it shows you that this talent pool is all at one level. Let's group some of these guys together, right? And just push them as tag teams. That's what they're doing to Tyson Kidd and Cesaro. And God bless them, they're trying the best they can with what the hand they've been dealt. They're trying new outfits, they've got a new look, matching tights, they're trying, but I just put some of the talent together and start making a good tag team division. And start pushing them as legit tag teams. I don't know, because I'm sick of seeing the same two teams fighting for the tag titles. Like the Usos and Dusts, the Dust Brothers, Goldust and Stardust. They had some great matches, they really did, but the fans just got sick of it because we saw it all the time. the in-ring talent's good enough to get some good matches going. Let's get some good tag team combinations and push them. This was an example of just, I phased out, and I'm sure a lot of people did as well. And of course, this led into a match that pretty much changed the tone of this pay-per-view and made sure that this pay-per-view couldn't get a thumbs down no matter how hard it tried. I'm talking about the WWE Championship match between Seth Rollins, Brock Lesnar, and John Cena. Holy shit. Like, newsflash, this match was freaking awesome. I'm sure you've heard it elsewhere. You're going to hear the same thing from me. It's a match of the year candidate, easily. Dave Meltzer on the Wrestling Observer Live on his radio show, he was like, this is a match of the year candidate, and I completely, utterly agree with him. It was incredible. And it was a match that just understood everyone's character perfectly and booked them accordingly, just to perfection. Like John Cena was the veteran babyface that was fighting against the two heels that and he always was very, very resilient, kicked out a lot of finishes, was in there to the end. Seth Rollins was the young, hungry, devilish heel that was going to do anything to win and prove that he belonged in the main event picture. And then you had Brock Lesnar. This man, everyone craps on the fact that we haven't seen a lot of Brock Lesnar and that he's been almost a vacant WWE World Heavyweight Champion. And then he comes into this match, and all the doubts, all the naysayers who are like, oh, he's a part-time wrestler, he's average, they just they just shut up, because this match was just a showcase of how great this man is. He was booked to absolute perfection. You want to make sure that this man is like a monster heel world champion. You do a match like this. It took everyone's finisher multiple times. He got put through a table. What I loved about the match is that he was put into a situation where the commentator was like, he's out, he's injured, he's got a bruised or fractured rib, he's out of the match, and and everyone's asking me when we're watching it, is he actually out? I couldn't obviously tell. And of course, then he came back and emerged like a monster from the Black Lagoon, came right into the match, destroyed Seth Rollins with an F5 out of nowhere, 1, 2, 3. Brock Lesnar's still your champion. Like, how can you argue that this was an amazing match? Go see it. Stop this right now. I'm not going anywhere. Stop it right now. Come back and check out this match. It is worth the price of admission. It's a great start to the 2015 pay-per-view season. And it just makes me scratch my head, because I see this match and it's like, these agents get how to book great matches. Put the appropriate talent that's established in this match, and look what you get. Why can't we get this kind of a consistency up and down the card, not just one amazing match? It just shows you what happens when characters are protected. Seth Rollins, even though he's a devilish heel, he's at that level. John Cena's John Cena, and Brock Lesnar was put into a situation where he just came off as the biggest unstoppable monster, and that's what you want going into WrestleMania for Roman Reigns. Just an incredible showcase of what WWE can do when they are switched on. The only criticism I have, and it kind of ties in with the Miz's and Usos argument, Seth Rollins and John Cena put on this incredible final a few minutes where it was just the two of them wrestling, and that was great. But we've seen it so many times before. We have. I think we've seen these guys wrestle 6 times in the last few months. Not few months, but keep these combinations special for pay-per-views. All the near falls that they've done, I've seen these near falls be done on Raw several times in the cage match and that lumberjack match. Keep some of these combinations special. I've said it many times on the show. You should always have a foresight to what you want to do in the future. Let's keep this combination of matchup, separate so we can use it later on. So that leads into the Royal Rumble. Speaking of foresight, this Royal Rumble, I wanted to love it. There was a lot of intrigue going in. I was pumped going out of that main event. But after the Royal Rumble had finished, all I wished was that WWE put that triple threat main event as the main event. Because this Royal Rumble left a pretty sour taste in my mouth. Okay, let's just address the elephant in the room. Roman Reigns winning the Royal Rumble. Now, as I said, Eron wrote an article for ProWrestlingPowerhouse.com talking about why Roman Reigns shouldn't be to blame. And I agree. It should be WWE's booking of this match that's to blame for the backlash that they received. Roman Reigns was put into a situation where, really, on paper, he overcame the odds. He beat two giants in the final three, and an international monster heel. Eliminated them all. He was endorsed by The Rock. On paper, this sounded fantastic. But what WWE did is they shot themselves in the foot with the other 56 minutes of the Rumble. Like, where did WWE go wrong? And really it kind of started with the ego of WWE kind of like just being on show. Bubba Ray Dudley comes back to WWE, finally, where he belongs. Everyone's been saying, if it's not going to happen in TNA, it's got to happen back in WWE because he's done such a great job creating that Bully Ray character elsewhere. And he comes back into WWE as a Dudley boy with the glasses from 2000, the camo outfit. He doesn't look that fit. I don't know what's happened. He didn't look that good in the match either. But you have to present him as a Dudley boy. We can't have him come in as anything else. It just is the ego so big? And like DDP, he comes in and he just RKOs. He diamond cuts all these guys who are trying to bust their ass and trying to make their name in the WWE, and they're just treated like absolute geeks. I saw those things and I was a bit annoyed. And again, like the Wyatt family, like talking about giving the fans what they want. The Wyatt family gets together and like they have that stare down in the middle of the Rumble, and everyone's getting hot for it because they think they're going to team up again and get back together. But no, they're going to battle against each other because we broke them up for what reason again? Exactly, I'm not sure. But so these little things are just chipping away at me as I'm watching this Rumble. And then finally Daniel Bryan gets in, number 10. And I'm thinking, okay, number 10's a good number. He's going to last all the way through. Now, obviously, I had a feeling that Roman Reigns is going to win. I think everyone had a feeling that Roman Reigns was going to win the Royal Rumble. I went into this Rumble thinking, if it's going to be Roman Reigns winning, surely WWE has a great way of positioning Bryan in a program for WrestleMania via his elimination. He's going to be eliminated by someone who's going to, set him on the road to WrestleMania. They're going to have a hot feud, and it's going to have a great payoff at WrestleMania. We didn't get any of that. We got a sequence of events where Bryan was just eliminated like anyone else. The camera panned on his face, and then we moved on to Goldust, who was, I think, entrant number, I don't know. This is where I personally got angry, and this is where WWE shot themselves in the foot. Because they could have done the best job they ever with Roman Reigns in that Rumble. But the way they treated the most over guy in the company was just a complete and utter travesty. And this is where I just lose faith, and I feel so down on pro wrestling when I watch the company that I grew up watching. I see stuff like this, and it's just like, how can you just treat this man like this? Sure, I would have loved him to be in the main event of WrestleMania. But obviously, Vince doesn't want to go to the well, one too many times, and that was his choice. But for God's sake, protect your talent. You really test the fans' commitment, and I just don't know. They should have just given the fans what they want, to be honest. That's just what I think. But, it is what it is. Roman Reigns came in at number 19, and ironically, he didn't run well. He was just another guy. You know what I mean? He came in there with all this momentum, with all this, the company behind him, and he eliminated two people, and he was very dominant in the match. He didn't have that many high spots at all. It's just... And we're going to get into our Why It Works section later on, and we're going to talk about the 2014 Royal Rumble appearance of Roman Reigns and why that worked. Because in that was just a complete night and day kind of situation. Again, we'll get into that later on. But yeah, obviously at the end of the Royal Rumble, Rock comes in, endorses Roman Reigns, helps him out, and the fans just don't care. I mean, is this going to be what it's going to be like going to Royal Rumble? To be honest, like, it's too early to tell. One rabid Philadelphia crowd isn't going to completely change everyone's perception. I mean, sure, there's other people that think it's going to be like this going all the way into WrestleMania, but I honestly don't think that. I think this might be actually a good tie-in to Raw. We can start talking about Raw and what I learned from Raw. And that's that studio performances and as little dialogue as possible is exactly what Roman Reigns needs going forward. Because in this show, on Raw, from last Monday, we had a Roman Reigns who was quiet, he was well-spoken. Obviously, he was being fed lines. But to be honest, he had two segments. He had his sit-down interview with Todd Phillips, and he had his interaction with Paul Heyman and Brock Lesnar. Obviously, some fans were still shitty about the fact that Roman Reigns gets his lines fed, and it didn't feel natural. But to be honest, like, that was probably the best 3 hours of Roman Reigns' life in regards to his character. And I think the interaction they had was with Brock especially, and with Paul Heyman, gave me faith that they're going to have something good by WrestleMania time. Does that mean that at WrestleMania, Roman Reigns is going to get cheered and Brock Lesnar is going to get booed? No. It's still going to happen because, that's just like, look at John Cena's track record at WrestleManias. How many times does he get booed? He gets booed all the time because the international fans hate John Cena. You position Roman Reigns as the next John Cena, you're going to get the same thing. Again, I give every single bit of congratulations to Roman Reigns trying to do the best he can with the cards he's been dealt. But to be honest, the lead up to the Royal Rumble, what happened in the Royal Rumble, it is adding up, and it's going to be a very interesting road to WrestleMania. That's all I can say. But I think these studio environments where he's just talking or he's interacting with people, just let the guy interact as himself. That's all I gotta say. And I think it was a blessing in disguise, considering how much heat was coming out of the Royal Rumble, that there was a snowstorm, that they weren't in front of a live crowd, because it could have been different. Oh, absolutely could have been different. But, obviously time will tell in regards to what will happen next. In regards to what's happening next, the next lesson I learned was that WWE has no idea what they're going to do or how to utilize the most over talent. We had two other interviews. Well, one was just a backstage interaction, and the other one was an interview. Daniel Bryan. They put the guy in front of the camera, and he talks about his loss. And when it came down to it, I have no idea what they're going to do with Daniel Bryan. There's rumors about what they're going to do with him, but he just talked about how no one should blame Roman Reigns. They used Daniel Bryan. Get this. They used Daniel Bryan to try and endorse Roman Reigns. Instead of going, well, let's actually just focus on Daniel Bryan's character. Let's get him ready for WrestleMania. Let's set him up. Let's redeem ourselves from the crap, utter shit job that we did protecting Daniel Bryan at the Royal Rumble. No, we're going to use him to boost up a main event guy. If you don't believe me that they don't have any idea what they're going to be doing with Daniel Bryan going to WrestleMania, look at this. I think it's happening as we speak. Yeah, as we speak, the casket match between he and Kane. I mean, who could care at all? Does anyone care about that casket match? We're seeing Kane and Daniel Bryan wrestle each other over and over and over again. I just don't care. Give this main event talent some substance. And then we have Dean Ambrose. God bless the guy. Every time he talks, he's doing the best he can with the hands he was dealt. I've said it so many times this show, but it's true. He's the most natural talker they've got. He makes his scripted lines feel like they're his own lines, and that is a testament to how great he is. But he's just a comedy guy who's a very talented individual right now. The badass guy that was chasing down Seth Rollins is gone, as far as I'm concerned. They really need to do something to boost up his character, because the rivalry with Bray Wyatt just wavered, and by the time they've had their final match, I just didn't care. And now it's a shame, because obviously there's always time to get back on track. He's not completely shot, he's not completely dead, but again, coming out of the Royal Rumble, I just feel this spinning their wheels motion going on WWE right now with the rest of the talent. Sure, we have an idea of what's going on between Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns. It looks like we're going to have a disqualification finish between Rusev and Cena to set up Cena and Rusev for WrestleMania. Is it wise having them in a match before WrestleMania? Absolutely not. But, anyway, there's still a lot of unanswered questions coming out of WWE, and we will definitely see what happens with that. But, yeah, a very interesting 48-hour period for WWE on the Sunday and the Monday. Some good, some bad, but a lot of questions still yet to be answered. And hopefully we get some answers on SmackDown. So expect a review of that show next week with me and Eron. What did you think of the last 48 hours of WWE? Did it shake you? Did it make you not that excited to see WrestleMania? To be honest, right now, I'm not excited. It doesn't really feel like I'm on the road to WrestleMania yet. This will be my fourth Mania. I went to 27, 28, and 29. Those WrestleManias had me excited by the Royal Rumble, and now I just don't feel it, and I need this company to get me excited again. But what did you think of the Royal Rumble? Send me your tweets at Wrestling Hour Break, Facebook.com/Wrestling's Rope Break. Post it up there. Let's start a discussion. What did we want to see for WrestleMania? So let's move into why it worked. So the segment is literally as simple as we take a segment, we take an angle, we take a finish, we take someone's performance that was beneficial to the history of pro wrestling, and we talk about why it worked and why it was beneficial. And this week, we could obviously tie in with the conversation that we just had about Roman Reigns. I want to analyze Roman Reigns' Royal Rumble 2014 performance and why it worked. Now, a lot of people, some people remember it, some people don't. Obviously, I do, because I think it was a really good, beneficial mood to have Roman Reigns have this kind of performance before breaking up with the Shield, because it really kind of set Roman Reigns apart from his brethren, even though they were still in the same unit. And I think that, especially in the rivalries with with the Evolution and the Authority, there was after the Royal Rumble, Roman Reigns definitely felt different, and he definitely had that cool factor about him, because, at that time, they just kept his dialogue simple, and he was a wrecking machine. He came into the matches, he speared everyone, Superman punched everyone, he was just a beast, and he was doing that triple powerbomb, he always looked massive, it was great presentation, and the Royal Rumble 2014 was no exception. Why it worked? Well, first of all, Roman Reigns didn't win the Royal Rumble, and he had the most eliminations. That combination was just a match made in heaven to promote Roman Reigns as this next big thing. He eliminated the Shield, he eliminated Sheamus, all these other wrestlers. He did a tremendous job just doing a subtle build and getting the ultimate rub. And he stands as the most eliminations in one Royal Rumble. He has that record, and God, Kane had it since 2001. So I can only imagine how long Roman Reigns is going to have it. And the second reason why it worked was that he did a tremendous transition from just being the muscle of the Shield to someone to keep their eyes on. It enhanced the act of the Shield. It took Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose a lot longer to kind of establish their own characters, but Roman Reigns left that Royal Rumble just looking unstoppable, and the Shield benefited from that in their babyface run. And really, in hindsight, I'm glad they kept them together for WrestleMania. A lot of fans just frowned upon that, and they thought the breakup should have happened going into WrestleMania. But to be honest, that babyface run, it was short, but it was definitely sweet. And Roman Reigns looking amazing after the Royal Rumble was a big advocate for that. And at the same time, why did it work? Well, Roman Reigns received a natural babyface reaction for his performance. Yes, it did help having Batista in that match. Ironically, backtrack a year ago, Batista was the one that was getting pushed down everyone's throats that no one wanted to see win. And Roman Reigns was the one that was getting cheered, the underdog, the talent that was actually beloved by the audience instead of being disliked. And it just definitely played into it. Like, there was Roman chants. It played off Batista's natural dislike with the fans. I loved it. I thought it was fantastic. And Roman Reigns walked away just looking great. So I think that was that's a why it works section. Do check out that Royal Rumble 2014 performance by Roman Reigns. It's just a far cry from what Roman Reigns should have been like in this year's Royal Rumble. Really, he got into the match and just didn't do anything. this guy's meant to be your next big thing, and you're going to back up his previous year's performance with a performance that was so missable. I don't remember what he did in the Royal Rumble, except for the end. There's no spots. They didn't book this Rumble at all well. Ugh, it's a far cry. So concentrate on some better days with Roman Reigns. Go check out his 2014 performance, because it definitely worked. So that is why it worked for this week. Okay, so we're going to take a quick commercial break. Obviously, I've been talking for quite some time now, actually. So I'm going to take a little bit of a break, have a drink of water, and get back to talking about the Quintessential Podcast, which is upcoming with Lisa Marie Veron, a.k.a. WWE's Victoria.
So you're cruising around the internet looking for some entertainment. What if I told you there's a hard-hitting, fresh, and opinionated podcast out there covering everything from WWE and TNA to the NFL, the NBA, and MLB? Well, that's reality. Main Event Madness is here. Don't miss us every week on MainEventMadness.com, as well as on TuneIn Radio and Stitcher.com. Main Event Madness, our wrestling, your sports, simply madness.
Okay, we're back. So yes, MainEventMadness.com, Main Event Madness Radio. Do check them out. John Curry, Alfonso Marion. They do a great job. They've got a great following. They do some really good pro wrestling audio, as well as just other audio involving the NFL, NHL, the baseball as well. So definitely check them out if you haven't already. Okay, so the Quintessential Podcast. Let's get it straight into it. So this week we're going to be analyzing the Ross Report with Lisa Marie Veron, aka WWE's Victoria, talking to Jim Ross. And they've really had a great, interesting discussion about the role of women's wrestling, how it's changed since Victoria's day, obviously her upbringing in the business, where she came from, her restaurant, which is in Chicago, which I would love to check out if I go into Chicago one day. But obviously when we do every single Ross Report, I always want to pull out something that he says that's very prolific, from his What's on My Mind segment of his show. And this week, he talks about what wrestling fans really want from the product in 2015. I think it's kind of a very interesting analysis for what promotions should always strive for. So let's have a listen to it.
In general, wrestling fans don't want to see poor acting or unfunny comedy or loose wrestling. You can avoid this matter. It allows any company to take a giant step forward if you can avoid those three things. Poor acting, eye-roller stuff, embarrassing stuff, unfunny comedy, and the wrestling being loose. Guys not manning up. The physicality level is a little bit low. So anybody that can do that can take a step forward. I don't care what company you're with.
So it's very interesting, isn't it? Like, I have to really wonder, is this a utopian value system that JR's talking about? Is it really impossible to kind of achieve? You know, like unfunny comedy, a physical style. I mean, yes and no, I have to really say. Some companies like New Japan Pro Wrestling have that good balance of, the physical strongman style that kind of sells you on the wrestling, but at the same time, they've got a good balance of just of legitimate comedy that's not that overly scripted. It's very improvish, whereas WWE has its moments, but it feels so filtered and so run down. It doesn't really feel like it's natural, and I think there always should be a happy medium between those two. I don't know what you guys think, but it's definitely achievable, but to consistently maintain it, I think, is the hardest thing to do, honestly. But so moving to Victoria, or Lisa Marie Veron's discussion about female wrestling and how it's changed so much, and in 2015 it's a completely different beast, and she kind of brings up what it really takes to be a diva, and how her version of what it takes to be a diva has completely kind of changed in the last few years. So let's have a listen to it.
And I never thought anything about moving. I thought, okay, this is part of the business. They're testing me to see how bad I want it, and I dropped my hat and just moved. We took a U-Haul and moved. And when I hear people now, they come to my restaurant and ask me, I want to be a diva. How do I become a diva? And they think they can just go, there's nothing around Chicago. I go, well, you need to move to go to around. If you want it badly, you will move and go to a great school. It's worth it. You know, you're not going to learn from people that don't know how to wrestle. You know, some of these people have never made it to WWE. You know, and and there's a reason for that. You know, you need to go to an experienced school. You know, OVW with Danny Davis, Jim Cornette. I mean, man, I was surrounded by amazing people, you know.
Great teachers.
And and we train 5 hours a day. And
some women think that getting a gigantic boob job, spray tan, and bleaching her hair, I'm in.
Right.
I'm in. What else do I need to do? They don't consider the challenges of learning to take a safe yet effective flat back bump, or how to properly hit the ropes, or to how to take a turnbuckle. So if you are a diva, a woman, female wrestler, a male, anybody, and you can't take a good flat back bump, you will not last long.
Obviously, when we hear that, we kind of think, well, obviously WWE right now is very much boob job, bleached hair, spray tan kind of stuff. I'd say yes and no to that again, because like we have a new system of females coming up from NXT. You got your Sasha Banks, you've got your Baileys, you've got your Charlotte Flair, and they're coming from a promotion which really promotes good, strong professional wrestling basis, more than just being a showgirl and having the body and all that kind of stuff. I mean, you look at Sasha Banks, you know, she has small boobs, she looks tiny, but her wrestling has just grown out of sight, and she's getting over, she's getting her character over, and like, it just shows you that there are places where you can learn to become better wrestlers. And I think that era of getting in there because you're a model is kind of, they've moved away from that a bit, with Natalya and Paige being added to the mix, and Nikki Bella getting better. I mean, things are getting slowly better in WWE, but again, it's the way that WWE promotes their own Divas division. It's still an afterthought. It's still filler. It's never going to get anywhere else unless they actually get promoted to a more prominent position, and the storylines get more attention. I mean, I think back to 2000, and I think it was 2004, 2005, when Lita and Trish Stratus main event Raw, and they did that amazing 15-minute television match for the Divas Championship, and Lita won the championship. And yeah, like Victoria, she in the podcast she talks about like when she wrestled in a cage match against who was it? Against, I think, Mickie James? I'm sure I'll get corrected on Twitter, but do tell me on Twitter, at Wrestling Arbreak, if I'm right or wrong, what that cage match was on Raw. But, you know, like, they were put in positions where they could run, you know, like, and the talent was given chances. And I think that's where it comes down to. The rosters are getting better, but they really kind of need to promote it much better. And I think that's just been the gripe of the Divas division for a very long time. So that's the quintessential podcast segment of this week. Obviously, we will get into a new one next week. Maybe JR's podcast, maybe Chris Jericho's. If there's an interview that you want us to check out that comes up in the next week or so, drop us a line at Wrestling's Rope Break, facebook.com/Wrestling's Rope Break. Put a wall post up there. Tell us what you'd like to see. Speaking of what you'd like to see, we asked you a question last week. The spotlight question of last week was, what is your favorite Royal Rumble moment? And we have the three best ones that we gathered during the week. Charles Ramirez talked about Chris Benoit winning the Royal Rumble at number 1 in 2004. Charles, I absolutely agree with you. That was probably my quintessential Royal Rumble moment that I will always remember. And I'm actually going to be doing an article, hopefully get it up by the end of this week, touch wood, comparing 2004's Royal Rumble with 2015's Royal Rumble, because they were both in Philadelphia, but the time between these two has obviously changed the business. The business has obviously changed, and we're going to do a good comparison study of why it's changed, what's changed, and what could be done that's better. And so I definitely agree with that, Charles. So good pick. Montez Anderson says, Hurricane Helms trying to double choke slam Triple H and Austin in the 2002 Royal Rumble. He provided a link there on YouTube. You can definitely check it out there. Very funny moment. Good. That's good WWE comedy right there. Austin and Triple H being the only two in the Royal Rumble at the time. A few geeks came out, tried to chuck both Austin and Triple H out, and Hurricane was one of them. Tried to double choke slam. Comedy, everybody. That's why it worked. And Harry Lee Simpson told us that CM Punk was being in the 2011 Royal Rumble. We said the Straight Edge Society, but I think he meant the New Nexus, where they were just a unit trying to chuck everyone out, and CM Punk was on the mic after every single elimination, and he was talking up, who's got it, who wants to eliminate me, and of course CM Punk is amazing on the mic. Great moment. John Cena came out and ruined the party, as John Cena has... well, we definitely did in 2011 with his character. So yeah, good pick, Harry Lee Simpson. But as we leave you this week, what is the spotlight question that we want to ask you, the fans? And it's this. It's simply this. Who should Daniel Bryan's WrestleMania 31 opponent be if he isn't going to be wrestling for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship? Now, obviously, while I'm recording this, there's a big buzz on the internet talking about how Daniel Bryan versus Dolph Ziggler could be a WrestleMania match instead of being the rumored Sheamus versus Daniel Bryan match. Both matches are great. Obviously, Dolph Ziggler and Daniel Bryan, that's a fresh matchup that people have not seen. It would be babyface versus babyface. Great choice. Obviously, it stemmed off a Twitter interaction between Daniel Bryan and Dolph Ziggler, but it has been picked up on WWE's Facebook page. It has been promoted as a potential match. I don't know if it's WWE feeding into the rumors, but that would be a definite highlight for WrestleMania 31 and get me excited, because, you know, if Daniel Bryan is going to be involved in something, it better be in a prominent wrestling heavy match where it's given time. You don't give Dolph Ziggler and Daniel Bryan, 5 minutes at WrestleMania. I'll make it a number one contenders match. Let's go as far as to say that. Give these guys make it a prominent main event match for WrestleMania. That's how you do it. But who do you think Daniel Bryan should wrestle? Do you think it should be Dolph Ziggler? But I want to know why. Don't just say who you think should wrestle. I want to know why. And you can send your replies to @WrestlingOutbreak on Twitter or Facebook.com/WrestlingsRopeBreak and tell us what you think. Who do you think Daniel Bryan's WrestleMania 31 opponent should be if he isn't wrestling for the World Heavyweight Championship? Well, that's all we have time for tonight. Thank you so much for joining us wherever you may be out there around the globe. A little bit of a shorter show this week without Eron being here, but for you Eron Ramadan fans, fear not, he will be back next week as per usual, ready to talk about the build to WWE Fastlane, which is the next WWE pay-per-view, and I think it's about 2-3 weeks. We'll be talking about Roman Reigns' first ever live appearance. That's happening as we speak on SmackDown, and so much more. So thank you so much for joining wherever you may be. Remember to check us out next Thursday night. We're back to our normal scheduled time, Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern, exclusively on Main Event Madness Radio. Good night, everybody.
Thanks for downloading Wrestling's Rope Break. Want to keep up to date with future episodes of the show? Answer our weekly questions, interact with Joel or Eron, or just go somewhere to discuss good old pro wrestling. It's easy. Start by following us on Twitter @WrestlingOutbreak, then like us on Facebook at facebook.com/WrestlingsRopeBreak. Finally, bookmark and visit our website at www.wrestlingsropebreak.weebly.com. Wrestling's Rope Break. Everything pro wrestling by the count of 5. We will see you next week.